He is director of debate at Head Royce in the East Bay and at Stanford University. High school students may have a right to free speech, but it doesn't go so far as to include the freedom to unfurl a banner promoting bong hits at a school event. That's what Ken Starr said before the United States Supreme Court. He said this is disruptive of the educational mission, inconsistent with the school's message against using drugs. And the Supreme Court asked some remarkable questions, and there seemed to be very odd allies in all of this. Matt, what did you observe about what the Supreme Court questions were to Mr. Starr?
Well, it's very interesting. I've only read about 15 or 20 pages of the 70 pages of the actual transcript of the hearing yesterday. But a couple of things. One is that it's very clear that some of the conservatives on the court are trying to even suggest to Ken Starr, who doesn't seem to understand what they're saying, that there is some kind of incitement argument that can be made, that this is basically that the banner is an advocacy in some way for students to take drugs and do something illegal. Now, for adults, the court has said in a number of situations you cannot incite people to do illegal activities. What my case in Tinker established, I think, is that the court has very low standards for what constitutes problem conduct and speech by students. And if he had run with that argument, I think he would have had an easy winner there, and that some of the justices were indicating that. A second point that he misses out on is that one of the justices who normally favors free speech for kids pretty strongly, John Paul Stevens, who actually voted for me, asks a question about, is the banner inherently disruptive? I think, and Ken Starr says, sort of, but not necessarily, and that's a big mistake, because holding up this banner could have caused students, it might have blocked students' view. It's a 15-foot banner that's, 3 feet wide or whatever. It also could have caused students who disagreed or felt that it was, upsetting to the school in some way to tussle with that student, fight with them in some way. And if the school district had focused on those sorts of arguments, I think they'd have an easy win here. But they did not do that, interestingly.
Why do you think that is?
Honestly, Ken Starr, from reading this transcript, which I would encourage people to do, it's a great educational exercise for kids in a history class to look at some of this. He's not on the ball on this. Yeah, he's not making the right arguments. I think that these court decisions are very easily misread and misunderstood. I've been ruminating on this case for 20 years, and I read little cases that come out along the way, and I've looked carefully at the court language and kind of seen over the span of time how their thinking evolves. It's very clear to me the court wants to make very narrow decisions in this area. And when they do protect student rights, they only want to do so on the narrowest of grounds, because they're always concerned about a flood of court cases against schools, which really would disrupt education in a very substantial way, because administrators would spend all day, every day, and all their money, instead of hiring teachers, they'd be fighting court cases.
8080810 is the number right here on KGO. Every single one of you listening to the sound of my voice went to school. You all went to school. Should this kid have been expelled from school, suspended? And what would you do if you were a sitting justice of the United States Supreme Court? Now, my son has just been admitted to high school. He's going to start in September. I'm going to talk about this case with him because I'm curious. Because if he asked me, Daddy, do I have the right to say what I think? My answer would be yes, because I believe in freedom of speech. But where does freedom of speech end? Does it end at the schoolhouse door? 8080810, many of you with comments and questions. Of course, you might ask the same question about Congress and the battle that they are now confronting with the President of the United States. Shouldn't they have the right to pursue the truth? KGO News Talk, 810 time, 831, and there's somebody who always pursues the truth from her perch in the newsroom. And that, of course, is the indomitable Chris Fletcher.
You're amazing, John. You're absolutely amazing. The South Bay iPod robbers have been caught. At least police have 2 suspects in the string of robberies of high school students over the past couple of weeks. The suspects are 18 and 19 years old. All that security in the airports, you've been through it. Well, apparently it's not enough. A Horizon Airlines flight that landed in Portland had an 8-inch knife tucked between 2 seats.